Welcome to Rzhev Winter and another CoH2 replay cast. So this time we have a 2v2. Again, I like 2v2, and people like to send me 2v2s, and people like to post 2v2s on CoH2.org. This was posted on CoH2.org by CoH2, playing as the Soviets. And we do have his ally Rzhev, not sure if they are teammates or not, playing as British on northern side of Rzhev Winter. And we have on the south, Stanley96 playing as OKW, and as well, Nick2296 also playing as OKW. So we do have the OKW Storm on Rzhev Winter. We do have an instant tier 2, which on Rzhev Winter is a good idea. You want to get those maxims out as soon as possible on this map, and you want those mortars just in case the enemy decides to, do the thing that you're gonna do and fortify themselves very heavily with support weapons. Though the chance of that happening is slightly lower because of OKW. The OKW eventually will get their trucks and start, turtling up anyway. So getting some mortars out is a good idea. So let's go over doctrines. Already talked about the map. Everyone knows this map. It's annoying as fuck. The fuels are very much hard to harass. The victory points are hard to capture, easy to hold. There we go. And the ice is annoying. Okay. I always forget about the doctrines. It's something I've noticed with my casting. And then when people have picked them, I don't know what they could have picked otherwise. So we have Guard Motor, Lend-Lease, and Shock Rifle, all really good doctrines. On this map, Shock Rifle, it's good because of the KB Flamethrower and the IS-2, but the Shock Troops are a little bit less effective than on other maps. We do have a conscript opening instead of the maxims I was expecting, which is interesting. Now we have another conscript. So why would you go tier 2 when you then go conscript spam? Couldn't you have just conscript spam to begin with? And when you retreated your engineers, you could have built the support weapon center then, just a little bit of a thought. Not criticizing that much. And now he sees his mistake and builds a maxim, so that's pretty good. Though it still delayed him a fair bit and might lead him into engagements where he doesn't have the maxim where he needed it, which can be a problem, especially early game as the Soviets. So it looks like the British MG, the British MG was able to catch out the entirety of the Orange infantry force and force them to retreat from the right side. So that's definitely good for the British. We do have the first engagement, well, the second engagement at this point, between conscripts and Volksgrenadiers in heavy cover at long range and the engineers. So that will not go well for the conscripts at all. He definitely sees it as soon as possible and retreats. Good play, preserving his forces, not having any model losses that are unnecessary. The MG looks like it will go to the center where it is most needed. Hurrah will actually go in for the cutoff point. Not sure I completely agree with this because the Volksgrenadiers are gonna catch him up anyway. No, it's like they win for the points. They're gonna be they're gonna have a pretty bad surprise when the MG comes up and shoots them a lot. Anyway, we do have another Volksgrenadier squad shooting at the conscript, but they do manage to get the cutoff point, so they do not get any fuel income for a while. Good. We have the British infantry pushing up, which is good. British have commandos, vanguard, and special weapons. They can all be pretty good, but the commandos are not that great on this map, in my opinion. And the role of the air supremacy operation, which would be the only reason I would pick commandos on this map, can be easily used by easily be filled by the concentrated fire operation from the special weapons. So what I would go is special weapons on this map, especially because also the vanguard relies quite heavily on the air landing officer and the commandos as well, which on this map do struggle a little bit. We do have a big German infantry counterattack against the British. As I lag, the infantry sections should have gone into this house and should have anticipated that the Germans would try to take control of the houses. And at least he does have the cunning to retreat as soon as possible. At the same time, we do have the Germans nicely building some sandbags for the Allies to use. When you build sandbags on points, you want to be building them hugged up to the actual model of the point, as we have a giant infantry flank from the north, which will probably run into the Maxim and be completely shut down. But it also ran into a mine and took only one loss when walking up as a blob. So that's definitely very unfortunate for CoH2. Same time, we have the Vickers MG suppressing the other German infantry that has finished mopping up the strategic point and has now decided to frontally charge a Vickers across the Lake of Ice. and it predictably goes horribly, and it will be forced to retreat. At the same time, though, the other purple blob is having a lot more luck against the Maxim. Maxim with obviously a little bit less of an arc of fire, and definitely a lot less accuracy than the Vickers machine gun. So we do have a guard mortar chosen. Lend-Lease could have also been a really good choice on this map because of the Dushka. The Dushka is definitely a really good weapon on this map because of its long range and very, very high suppression. At the same time, the Vickers MG will be taken out by the big purple blob of doom. The big purple blob of doom should actually be capturing it, but it looks like they will first decide to charge across no cover into the rear infantry section, which was alone. They will be able to force them back, but we do have a massive counterattack from the Allies. The Maxim machine gun was not able to set up in time to prevent the Germans from stealing the Vickers, though. It's being a little bit undecisive. What you want to be doing with Maxims is actually just attack move, because they will just set up in a usually decent arc and just start firing immediately without you having to micro them and having some pretty embarrassing just derping around happen to you. So one MG dies and Rzhev decides to replace it with 2 MGs. Now what Rzhev should be doing right now is going for an AEC. Pretty much every game until the patch hits, every game is British. You should go for an AEC. It is just too valuable of a unit. It can do too many things, for you to not get it, because it's just too good. Because just like the Bofors, it can decimate infantry and take out light vehicles really easily, but unlike the Bofors, it can actually move. So yeah. Engineers will actually go down from the Shrek Snipe / Incendiary Grenade on retreat. So that's not too great for the Soviets, who do not have an engineer anymore to build their tech structures, which they need right now. Since Guard Motor does not have the call-off T-3485s anymore, and it's not had it for a long time, but And we do have a 120mm mortar. Now, 120mm mortar can do pretty well on this map. It can do pretty well on any map, especially when you have defensive players like these or blobbing players like these. So we will see how well the 120 does. I hope it will do well, because it's a decently big investment, 340 manpower, when you could have gotten a guard squad for 10 less, and a guard squad would have been able to safeguard you against like a Brooks like this. So we'll definitely see how it goes. At this point, the Allies are definitely lacking in AT, but you could have seen it yourself. There's a Luke's coming, and yeah. So how can you predict that the Luke's is coming? You can predict that the Luke's is coming when, at this point in the game, you see German infantry squads that are not full HP. When you see Volksgrenadiers and Sturm Pioneers that are not full HP, you know that he either didn't go for any trucks or he went for a mechanized regiment headquarters. So you want to be preparing your AT just in case it's a mechanized regiment headquarters. At the same time, the Allies do have fairly sufficient anti-infantry, but it's still not enough to keep control of the blobs. They're just flanking them from the west approach to their rear area. At this point, though, it looks like the entire blob will be suppressed by the overarching field of fire of 2 MGs. At the same time, though, the Lux is on the field, taking care to not stay on the ice, which is good, and will deal heavy damage likely to whatever Allied infantry tries to defeat it, because there's literally no AT on the field, and there's no AT grenade either for the Soviets. So right now, the Soviets have literally no defense against this, and the British also have no defense against this, but they are building a 6-pounder anti-tank gun. Of course, Stanley should not notice, and he doesn't notice, so why would he charge right up to a conscript infantry squad when they could have an anti-tank rifle grenade, to take out the engine on the Lux? Why would he do that is beyond me. With these kinds of early vehicles, you want to be taking care to not lose them, and to use them, effectively over the long term. Because yes, you want to be making use of the shock value of the unit as soon as possible, before the enemy can get a counter to it. But at the same time, if the shock value is wasted completely, that's not very, because the unit dies, it's not very good. And what the Lukes is actually the better, pretty much the better shock unit when it comes to scaling up to the late game, because in late game, it will start suppressing when it gets to Veterancy rank 5, and all of its Veterancy ranks are actually really good, and help its survivability fairly well. So right now, it's doing heavy damage to the MGs. The MGs are actually damaging it, along with the 150mm mortar, and we do have a Soviet Guard squad coming in to try and deal some damage. We do have a conscript coming in from the sides, possibly to scare it off with any kind of anti-tank rifle grenades, but the 6-pounder anti-tank gun will be able to take out the Lukes. Lukes did go on a little bit of a rampage. All the while, where the German infantry is lost on me, because if the German infantry had pushed up, it would have been able to maybe screen the AT gun away. So that's definitely bad usage of the Lukes right there, for a various amount of reasons. And the only reason it did so well is because the Allies were very negligent in getting early AT. 10 minutes is not the first time you want to have anti-tank, especially when there's the danger of a Lukes, such as when there's 2 OKWs against you. Map control has been pretty even this entire time. The VP situation is completely even. The Axis do have a little bit of a better control of the center right now, but it might teeter out now that their shock unit is dead, and the Allies have a massive amount of support weapons to push back the infantry blobs. So it looks like the German strategy is starting to falter, which at this point should mean that they start, changing it around. Stanley has a shitload of manpower. He could consider going for Scavenge Doctrine and getting some Jaeger Light Infantry out on the field, which would definitely help him greatly. Jaeger Light Infantry is good because at long range, they are a little bit less susceptible to any kind of conscript or MG fire, because they can just retreat out of it just walking, and they can be really useful in dealing with the guards. The Jaeger Light Infantry has a similar cost to the guards, but in general it tends to beat them out at long range, so they can definitely be a good tool. Also, they can be a good tool spawned in some of the buildings on the right side to cap, and they also have infiltration grenades, which will be useful later on in the game to, well, even earlier on in the game, at any time, to take out the massive amount of MGs that the Allies have. 4 MGs between them. So we do finally have a Schwer setting up using some of the fuel float. Nick has not gone for too much usage of his fuel. He does have a Schwer, and he went for 2 Obersoldaten squads, which he will hopefully upgrade with SDG 44s, because he went for Special Operations Doctrine. Now, he also had Firestorm, which isn't too great of a doctrine, and the other doctrine was likely Luftwaffe Ground Forces, I can't recall, but Special Operations can be good on this map because of the Panther Command Tank. Infiltration grenades are always useful, flares are always useful, and the Obersoldaten STGs, now on this map, perhaps the LMGs are just straight up better because of the long range engagements, but the STGs can always be good, especially because of their reduced price that they got a couple patches ago. So we do have a nice flank from these conscripts. Going to go for the cutoff point. He has been pretty good at securing the cutoff, or rather harassing the cutoff. Premature retreat on the MG was a little bit, premature. Pretty much what I said. Yeah, now the problem with what the Germans are doing is that they're leaving their cutoff very exposed, and Kurauk has been very skilled in exploiting this pretty much the entire game. Now, what he could do is go for a tier 4. Right now, what I would go for if I was him is a Katyusha into a T-34-85, but looks like he will go for an Su-76, which is a bit of a safer play. At this point, he wants to be sure that if anything comes up, he does have a versatile unit like the Su-76 to deal with it, because Su-76 can not only deal with any kind of, it can deal with German medium tanks decently, especially if they walk on the ice, which is a little bit of a duh. But it can also be used nicely because of its artillery barrage ability when the Germans are turtling up like this. So the Schwer replacements are going to be real big pain, because they are covering 2 very big important areas: the middle VP and the northern VP / fuel / choke point / cutoff. It's definitely going to be a very big pain to deal with the Schwer. what he wants to be doing is have an MG in this building right here, and use a couple of AT guns like lined up about here, along with maybe the Su-76 to pepper the Schwer. Because while it is in a very annoying position, it is also in a very exposed position and a very recklessly aggressive position. He does have 3 squads of Obersoldaten, and they are all upgraded with SDGs, so that will definitely be a scary, scary force for the Allies to deal with. That is, unless they run into a Bofors or an MG. So we do have a Bofors going up from Rzhev. Normally, I would not agree with the decision, and well, yeah, I do not agree with the decision, but I can see why he's doing it. Notice the placement. This is the route that the German blob has been using to attack this entire time. So he wants to deny this to the Germans as much as possible. And the Germans right now do not have the kind of artillery that they need to deal with this. So while he also really needs the fuel and resources to be used, and also PopCap to be used in some kind of offensive units to push for the center, or perhaps take out the Schwers and, you know, gain some map control, I can see why he would be doing this, and I can see why it could actually work. Of course, right now, the Allies, while they are in a little bit of a precarious situation for VPs, they're not in a desperate one, because the Germans are not making any kind of effort to harass the right, even though they should, because there's only one MG. They don't know this, but they should know that if there's so many Allied forces in the center and the left, that there's probably not that much here, especially since they haven't been fighting on the right for a long time. So what the Germans really need to be doing right now is sending one of their Volksgrenadier squads just to scout, harass on the right side. And of course it will be suppressed and forced back by the MG, but then you know that the MG is there and you can mount a more proper attack to dislodge the MG and take control of the right side, because right now they have a pretty decent hold on the center and the left. So there should be nothing that they're afraid of. They should be looking to, you know, finish the Allies off before they can get lots of artillery and ruin their day. Because right now what the Allies can do to, you know, just dislodge the Germans and deal heavy damage to their, you know, heavy infantry forces. There's 5 Obersoldaten squads and 6 Volksgrenadier squads. Yeah, 6 Volksgrenadier squads on the field. What the Allies need to be doing to counter that is use artillery. Lots of it. Which is why I would advise a Katyusha as soon as possible for the Soviets. The British did go for special weapons, which is, in my opinion, the better decision. The concentrated fire operation will be very useful against the Schwers. And the Crocodile will provide excellent tankiness in the late game, which they will need to, you know, use as a shield for their more fragile, more damaging units like the SUs, the various SUs, and the various flanking T-3485s and Cromwells. So that's definitely the good future that looks to be the Allied late game. So we do have a nice coordinated push for the Schwer. We do have the Su-76s using their artillery barrage on both the Schwer and the house. Now, I was about to criticize this usage and saying that they could have just walked up and dealt more damage just shooting normally. But I can see why, because he wants to also dislodge any kind of MGs that are in this house, potentially. So we do have the Schwer going down very fast to this very well coordinated push. We do have a nice flank coming in from the north. This will force away one Maxim, but at the same time, it's not really being acted upon by the Obersoldaten, which are not being used, which is a very big mistake, because he has invested 1,200 manpower and 180 munitions on them. So you definitely want to be using that when you have that kind of a force on the field. So the massive German infantry does anyway push through in the center. There is no MG support, despite the fact that they have lots of MGs, because they're playing very defensively with their MGs. Of course, this can play out in their favor like this. If the Germans do push up a little bit too far, the MGs are there to stop them, despite the fact that the infantry had to retreat. So the Cromwell did manage to get 11 kills in that engagement, which is very impressive. And now it starts to tear up the Obersoldaten along with this Vickers. And this is definitely bad for the Germans. This is a lot of manpower. They do have the manpower to replace these model losses, but it's a lot of manpower and a lot of bet. The Cromwell just got a entire level of experience from killing 5 Obersoldaten and dealing damage to others, because Obersoldaten give a load of XP to units. So that's definitely bad. You do not want to be giving up XP by having your expensive elite units. This is also true for the guards, to a little bit of an extent, and also the commandos, but he doesn't have any commandos to use because he went special operations. Yeah, you definitely want to be careful with your elite infantry that they do not die recklessly, not only because of their cost, but also because they give out a lot of experience to enemy units. So, speaking of experience, there's actually a funny bug running around that I'm not sure if it will be fixed anytime soon. I hope it will, but it probably won't. Infantry squads like this one, when they get veterancy, offensive veterancy bonuses, they are actually applied not to the squad, but to the individual guys. So when a unit gains a veterancy level, all the guys in it, gain the new veterancy level bonuses. But when the models die, they actually... Holy shit, my phone. What the hell? Sorry for that, my phone was being stupid. People calling me. Anyway, yeah, I was about to say, there's an interesting bug. And also, nice command pamper is on the field. I have missed that a little bit. Yeah, so that's where the fuel float went into, which is okay. We do not want to be losing it to the Su-76s, though. Okay. What's so funny? It's funny, friend. Looks like he didn't lose anything, and he's using this blob to kill the MG. At the same time, the big engagement on the left is going very well for the Germans. The Shreks will be able to take out lots of Su-76s. Unfortunately for them, they did stray a little bit too close to the flamethrowers and the Cromwell, and they will be taking heavy losses, as well as the Bofors dealing a nice artillery barrage type attack on them. What's it called? Suppressive barrage, taking out 7 of them, dealing heavy damage and suppression and forcing them to retreat. At the same time, though, we do have the problem that the Germans are taking the right, and the Allies really need the right right now. Though, of course, if the Allies make a good push right now, the German forces are very damaged, and they can take out the Schwer and take the left if they are coordinated, as well coordinated as they were in the center push. They do have a lot of forces ready for this attack, so let's hope that they do launch it, and they do launch it well, because this might make their chances of taking out a win that much bigger. Yeah, I was talking about the bug. When the model dies, all the experience that he has actually dies with him, and when a replacement model is bought, he's not a vet-free model, but he is actually a vet-0 model. And now, that obviously makes sense, but it's still a bug, and it's not how it's supposed to work. So be mindful that a lot of your vet-free units might not actually be as effective as you might think that they are. Defensive bonuses and abilities and sight bonuses do apply to the entire squad, it seems. So yeah, that's not a problem. But yeah, for offensive bonuses like accuracy, rate of fire, that kind of stuff, especially like this vet-free, infantry section bonus, just beware that that exists, and that might be why your vetted infantry does not seem to perform as well as it did. So the Cromwell is pushing up a little bit too recklessly without any support. Well, obviously the infantry sections are supporting him, but without Su-76 support, nor support weapon support, which doesn't sound very enticing at all, but yeah. So the Su-76s will start the barrage here, which is a bad idea. The barrages have been decent. Looks like it was only 1 barrage though, and it was cancelled as soon as possible, so that's good use. When you have 2 Su-76s, you don't want, or 2 of any artillery, you don't want to be wasting all of the barrage potential on 1 target, just in case that target ends up moving or, not being there anymore. Yeah, that's why you don't want to be wasting, especially also Katyushas, or any kind of unit that has a long barrage cooldown. So it looks like Kirok is going for lots of 76s. I do not agree with his decision to not go for a tier 4. You are going to need the versatility of T-34-85s and the firepower of Katyushas later on in the game anyway. So I do not know why he's not building his tier 4. It's like, yes, Su-76s are good and all, but yeah, in time they will start to become tad bit fragile and easy to flank. So we do have some nice mines from Kiruk. Now, he also seems to know that there's a Schwer here. Not sure how. Or maybe perhaps he's just barraging here because he thinks there's like a unit, but if he's doing that, then he's lucky to find the Schwer. At the same time, we do have a big push with the Panther on the left, which is where the SU-76s should be very useful, but they are actually out barraging the Schwer. Of course, he does realize it and sends the horde of SU-76s drifting around on the ice to meet the threat of the Panther. Of course, the Panther threat was met by the 6-pounder anti-tank gun, which is starting to almost gain its veterancy, and the vet-free Cromwell. The Bofors emplacement has been doing its job in, being a wall against any kind of German aggression. At the same time, the Germans will be heading into a literal minefield of MGs and mines, of course. We do have some nice incendiary grenades going down on the building and the trench, so that will definitely prevent the Allied infantry support weapons from being too effective, and it might kill a vet-free Maxim, which would be a very good blow. So that's a bit of a micro mistake from Kiruk, who has lost 2 of his free Maxims that he built initially. Of course, the Maxim didn't even drop because it was in the building. And, well, sometimes MGs drop out of the building, but not the case this time. Not really sure how the RNG works on that, so not going to comment on it. The 76s are ready to go, mostly repaired. First, we do see that the Schwer did go down in the chaos of what happened earlier. I have no idea how, but it did go down. And, oh yeah, right, when the Trom was pushed. There's another one going up. Now, I do not agree with this at all. If he wanted to get another Schwer, you could have gotten it like in a little bit more of a safe position, maybe guarding the cutoff over here. Because once the enemy has taken out your Schwer once, if you place it in the same spot again, they will just do the same again. Unless you're trying to bait them in, which you could do in other ways. So the Obersoldaten with STGs, they should not be staying at maximum range against the rend up infantry sections. They should be trying to focus in and get into close range. So the 76s are in very big trouble because of the standing in the ice against the Shrek Blob type deal. So they will be retreating away fairly quickly, which is good. The 2 other Obersoldaten from Stanley are a little bit lonely because Stanley is floating a shitload of resources and I do not know why. I have no idea what his plans are. He could be going for a Panther, he could be going for a King Tiger actually because he has all of the buildings. So he is going for a King Tiger, but at the same time, he should have noticed by this point that the Allies are really not too keen on artillery, so what he could have done is actually built a Pak-43 whose excess manpower. He's actually going to go for a Panther. Now, I do not agree with the decision. They do need a King Tiger, and the other person, Nick, he clearly has a command Panther and he's rebuilding his Schwer Panzer headquarters, which means that he will probably want to get more units out of it. So the responsibility of getting a King Tiger should fall on Stanley. And the reason I say that they need a King Tiger is that if this stalemate continues any longer, they will need a kind of heavy shock unit, damage absorber in the front line for when they make their big push. And the King Tiger is obviously the perfect one for that. So the Obersoldaten should actually go for the VP as well as the fuel point, but it looks like the Mega Blob of Volksgrenadiers will go for the fuel point. Now, what I would have done is send to 1 squad of each, 1 squad of Obersoldaten and then 1, perhaps the more vetted Volksgrenadiers to capture it, because they don't really need to hold it. It's a little bit too far away from their base for them to want to hold it. They just need to harass it a little bit, and sending their entire infantry force is not what I call harassment. And if the Allies did have a Katyusha or any kind of artillery, this could be easily punished, really easily punished. So we do have a mortar pit coming up. Now, the mortar pit, I would have gone for it earlier. As I said in my previous cast, the mortar pit is good, but this late, it's easy to destroy it with any kind of big push. So we do finally have a tier 4 and a Katyusha on the field. This could have helped him out so much earlier, but it's still gonna help him out if he can use it correctly, and if the RNG Stalin decides to give him some pretty good shots, which is always not very guaranteed. So we do have the Su-76s coming up to barrage where the Schwere is. We do have a booby trap from the Obersoldan, interestingly on the strategic point. So we do have the Pak 43 coming up in the in the most terrible position that he could have decided to build it in. The Panther is coming up to flank the Su-76s, but the Su-76s do notice what is going on. And after they almost take out the Schwere, they will retreat safely and take some parting shots before they run away. That free Cromwell still alive. Definitely good work preserving this unit, and will definitely serve him well later on. We do have the Katyusha going on the retreating German infantry at the base. He will be lucky that the Katyusha was fired at absolute maximum range, so it did not really hit anything. Looks like the Vet Free Cromwell, as soon as I sing the praises of the unit preservation of the Vet Free Cromwell, it will go down. It should have been retreated very far to the safety of the British base, forward base. So the booby trap will take out 2 conscripts. Not very good. Definitely not very good. The Pak 43, why is it in a bad spot here? Because it's really vulnerable to even Su-76s, because they do outrange it with the artillery ability, if ever so slightly. And also, now that the Katyusha is on the field, though, they didn't know prior to the Katyusha firing over here. Yeah, now that the Katyusha is on the field, this is in a very, very precarious and open location. What they should have done is hidden it behind this brush and this building, or perhaps built it a little bit further back over here. Because with the Pak 43, you want to be protecting the crew on it, because the gun itself is fairly sturdy and you can repair it anyway, but the crew, yeah, it really likes to die, and if it was built over here or over here, it could have actually been in range of the medical HQ, so to heal up the crew and replace it in case they die. So the Obersoldaten don't like taking houses, and the British infantry will say, thank you very much, chap, and get in the house, and probably be able to, if not send them running into the, running back to the base, definitely deal some heavy damage to them. We do have a 3rd British infantry squad, which will definitely push back the 2 Obersoldaten. Might kill this 1 squad, yes. Very good pickup from the Allies. We do have the Volksblob, though, while numerically superior to the infantry sections, if the Obersoldaten hadn't been... Oh, he retreats these units for no reason. He could have used them easily to, take out the Volksgrenadiers. Reasoning is, if the Obersoldaten were not able to take out the infantry sections, why would the Volksgrenadiers be able to? See, even like 3 squads are having trouble with this 1 squad. He will eventually beat them, and especially if they, prematurely retreat, which is actually probably a good idea. So we do have the Katyusha coming in. We'll probably try a barrage on the fuel point, which would be very wise to try and pick up some kills. Inflict some bleed on the German. People really like to call me today. Anyway, yeah. What I was saying is, a Katyusha barrage would be really good, but it was unfortunately missed. It fired a little bit prematurely. You should have waited for the infantry to spot for it. So at the same time, the massive German infantry advantage is starting to show on the left side. The British were starting to push into the, rear area and the VP, but they are now being forced back by the general superiority that the Germans will have in engagements that are happening outside of the Allied support weapon range and the Bofors range. Bofors is up to 16 kills, which is very impressive for a, emplacement. It will take out a Vet 4 Volksgrenadier squad, along with the help of the mortar pit, which is up to 5 kills. The 120mm mortar is up to Vet 3, so it's been not been doing too many kills, but it's definitely dealt a lot of damage to the German emplacements. 120mm could also be used fairly decently against the Pak 43, of course. So 2 Allied MGs will probably be able to force back whatever German infantry is over here and retake the right side, which is very important for the Allies. Right now they need the right side, and what they should do right now is actually focus on trying to take out the Pack 43 and pushing through the center, because right now the Germans on the left are a little bit too strong for them, and they should know that by the fact that whenever they try to push, they are repulsed by massive infantry counterattacks. So they should try their luck with the center mostly. Or maybe perhaps a flank from the right side. A flank from the right side could also work out very well for them. They're using too many forces right here, which makes me hope that they're gonna do this flanking attack from the right. Would help them out very much. So we do have a second Katyusha on the field. Really lucky on the Stuka that it did not sink. And it did not sink now either. So we do have a Obersolan squad going down. And the Stuka will hit the braced building and not do much damage. Do some light damage to the anti-tank guns. Also, so the Stuka is a problem because if left alone, it could end up dealing lots of damage over time to the Allied defenses. So right now it will be a game of artillery, it looks like, and the Germans, if they can get more Stukas on the field, they can definitely get the advantage in this kind of game. But at the same time, if the Allies do make a decent, concerted, coordinated, well thought out push, especially from the center and the right, which are the weaker sides of the German defenses, they can definitely scrunch, is that a word? They can definitely scrounge something out of the situation and make a decisive push for the win. Because right now, the longer the game goes, the better off the Germans will be, because they have not only in the long term the artillery superiority and the tank superiority and the infantry superiority, but also the recon superiority, because right now the Allies have no doctrine that has access to any kind of recon overflight or recon in general. Yeah, pretty much they're going to be starved for vision, and they're not going to be able to target their artillery too effectively. So we do have the Katyushas bombarding as one. Again, this is not too great of an idea, because if the target you hit runs away like this, then you have no more artillery for a while, for 2 minutes. 2 minutes? Yeah, 1 minute and a half. 1 minute and a half / 2 minutes. Because what he could have done is use one Katyusha to force the blob to retreat, and then immediately after target the other Katyusha at the retreat point, which he knows is there. So that's definitely a really good tactic to wipe out infantry squads if you're lucky with the RNG. So we do have a second Panther from Nick. It's been out in the field for a long time. I haven't had the chance to talk about it. Command Panther and Normal Panther is a really good combination because of the marked vehicle of the Command Panther. Marked vehicle of the Command Panther will double the damage on a unit, and also on a vehicle, and will also improve accuracy against it. So the Panther actually walked up, lobbed, and ate a mine. One of them got a completely destroyed engine. They were able to take out the Wolfers and one AT gun thanks to the Stuka barrage. But they are in a very precarious situation right now. The Su-76s react. Actually, what Su-76s? One died over here, looks like, to a Panther / Shrek volley, and the other Su-76 died in an unknown location. Perhaps in the ice. I can tell, honestly. I feel really stupid right now. Anyway, we do have the Crocodile is on the field, but in my opinion, a very big mistake that the British are making is that they're not using their coordinated fire operation, which is a bit of a problem. So we do have marked vehicle from the Soviet Guard Motors coming in on the Panther. So we do have lots of Panthers on the field, which will definitely be a problem for the Allied vehicles like this, Crocodile. But if the Allies make good use of their Su-76s and Sherman Firefly, then they can easily repel them. Again, Kiro going for more Su-76s, I would have gone for a pair of T-34-85s at this point, because that would definitely help in improving their ability to push. So we do have a massive Allied counterattack coming in on the north, responding to the German attack that failed, but it will be forced back by the you know, very well prepared German defenses on the left side. The two Panthers are in a very bad hurt, but it looks like they were able to repair their damaged engines from the little mine debacle. I'll speed it up just a little bit, because right now there's nothing really going on. Stuka Barrage will go in. So what right now the Allies need to do is, again, as I said, focus less on the left and more on the right and center, going for a flank, trying to smash the orange player a little bit more. The British, now I agree with the Crocodile because of, you know, they need a damage soaker, but there are lots of Panthers on the field, so you need to be very careful with how you use this Sherman Crocodile, and you need to be at all times ready to support it with the Firefly. He also needs to be getting rid of some of his munitions float. He does have lots of good infantry, so no need to use it for weapons, but he can use it for concentrated fire operation and tulip rockets, which would definitely help him out in taking out the German defenses for the concentrated fire operation, especially this Schwerer over here, and possibly this Pak 43. So this Pak 43 can be taken out by the Katyushas anyway. And especially also the tulips to take out the Panthers, which will be very useful for them. The Germans are pretty much at pop cap, and the Allies are also pretty much at pop cap, which in a map like this definitely favors the Axis, because the Axis in the late game do have pretty much the superior long-range units. So it will be very hard, and also the superior armor in terms of survivability. Of course, I say that, and there's a Crocodile on the field, but you know, in general, the Axis will have an easier time keeping their units alive, both infantry and vehicles. So the two Stukas from Stanley are dealing heavy damage to the British. They did take out the Bofors earlier along with the support of the Panthers, and now they are doing heavy damage to the support weapons and the infantry, and also the Firefly. The Firefly has pretty bad armor and takes pretty heavy damage from the fire of the Stukas. So the Katyushas, again, they are being used to good effect, but in my opinion, he should be staggering the barrages, firing one barrage against the infantry on the field and then one against the retreating point. Though he was able to take out most of Stanley's infantry, only one Obersoldaten squad remaining. All of the Volksgrenadiers have died in the big clash in the center earlier. We do have concentrated fire operation being dropped on this Pak 43, which will decrew it and likely also destroy it. So that's 500 more manpower on the drain for Stanley. And Stanley is really starting to hurt. He was floating 1,500 manpower, but now he is in a very bad hurt. At the same time, the Sherman Firefly did manage to get a very nice tulip strike off on the Command Panther and the Nola Panther, but now it's in a bit of a hurt. The Panthers could have stayed and finished it off, but it looks like they possibly wisely decided to back away. We still don't have anti-tank grenades, which is a really bad mistake for the Soviets. I'm not sure why we wouldn't go for anti-tank grenades. It's just so important to get anti-tank grenades. So we also have the other Panther from Stanley coming in a little bit recklessly, not really seeing what's there, and will take heavy damage from the F-76s and the Firefly. It might be sunk actually by a Firefly shot over here, and it is lucky to survive. It's very lucky to survive. Also, the mortar hit could have sunk it. So the Stukas at the same time, they're doing heavy damage, getting up to 29 kills by doing a massive barrage on the retreated Allied infantry at the forward assembly point. So that's two squads of vet-free British infantry sections going completely down, and that's a terrible blow for the British, because right now the fact that he had that infantry was kind of his insurance policy, that whatever happened, he still had the capping power to, you know, push up and just take whatever territory. The VP situation is pretty much even as it's been this entire game, but if the Allies do not, you know, secure any kind of win soon, the weight of German infantry that's been rebuilt from, you know, the losses and the Panthers will eventually overwhelm them, along with the excellent use of the Stukas that Stanley has been making. Whatever bad things I can say about his infantry play and his vehicle play a little bit, very recklessly, I can definitely say that the Stuka play has been making up for it. Another thing that I failed to touch on earlier is the fact that this Aftrak, this infrared, has been seeing everything the Allies have for a good 25 minutes. He built it fairly early on in the game, and it was a really good idea because on a map like this, a unit like these infrared half track is definitely very useful. You know, remember what I said about these, you know, vision superiority that the Germans would have? This is also a really big part in it. Because seeing all of the enemy defenses has been helping him out with his Stuka barrages immensely. As you can see now, he knows that there was an Su-76 there with little HP, very little HP from the infrared half track, along with the MG here, so he did a very nice line barrage. He wasn't able to hit that much the AT gun or the MG, but he was able to finish off the Su-76. So if I were to give advice to the allies for what to do differently, because right now it definitely looks as if we are heading for an allied defeat very fast, is definitely not focus on one area too much. When you hit one area and you fail, and then you hit it again, because, you know, if you fails once, try again, and you fail again and again and again, you should probably see that, you know, that's not a very good axis of attack. You should probably change it. And a little bit more of an effort in the center and the right would have definitely helped them out. Because the German orange player was the weaker one because he's been providing the artillery support, and he has been playing recklessly with his infantry, getting his infantry blobbed up and artillery to death. So, and also because he had less armor on the field, because he didn't have the command panzer. So a good attack on the right side would have helped him out very much, very much. Of course, they couldn't know this because they didn't have much scouting ability, but they could have tried. If you try 7 times on one side and you fail, you might as well try once on the other side and succeed. And at the same time, sitting idly because you cannot do anything, because that's why they're just sitting here. It can be a good idea to preserve your units, but at the same time, when you're in a desperate situation like this and the enemy has artillery superiority on you, you might as well try to, you know, make something happen. We do have a nice push from the SUs. We do have an Su-75 added to the SU party, the SU pack, let's call it. So, I mean, the lead wolf of the SU pack will soon die if it overextends a little bit too much. The Rockenwerfer, luckily for it, is a little bit out of position and wasn't able to take out the SU, which it would have done with a nice, well-placed shot and had been a little bit better position. But misclicks happen. Command Panther almost going down. It should probably just retreat. The other Panther is in a little bit of a better state, so it can stay in the fight. The rebuilt, well, rebuilt, not very rebuilt, but decently rebuilt Stanley infantry force is pushing up. He does have the resource for a King Tiger, so even if he loses this infantry to a nice Katyusha barrage, which won't happen because, again, he's not staggering his barrages. He's using them, you know, as one, which will increase the damage and increase the likelihood of wipes, but it will also leave you vulnerable for the reload time. Of course, they will die from the Crocodile. Running into a Crocodile with Obersoldaten and Storm Pioneers is not a very good idea, but yeah. Stukov to Vet 4 with 35 kills, and other Stukov with 14 kills. So you can see the difference, Kirok, if you're listening. He has been staggering the barrages. He has been providing support with his, you know, recon unit, which of course you couldn't do because you didn't have a recon unit, but you could have gotten an Su-85 had you not overinvested on Su-76s. And the Su-85 is a recon unit with its focus sight. You could have also invested in a T-70 a little bit earlier in the game, and if you had kept it alive up to Vet 2, the T-70 with the Vet 2 bonus to its recon mode is pretty much just as good of a recon unit as anything the Germans can get. Well, not as good as the infrared half-track because of its safety and its range, but it's a good substitute. It's a good enough substitute that it could have helped you out with your Katyusha barrages very greatly. Because the Katyushas have been on the field for 20 minutes, and they have gotten 9 kills between them. While at the same time, the Stukas have been on the field for roughly the same time, and they have 35 plus 14, which is 49 kills. So that's 5 times as many kills, pretty much. 5 times as many kills. So that just speaks volumes of the effectiveness of how the Germans have been using their artillery. Because it's so, not only about how powerful the units are, because, I mean, the Stuka is powerful, but the Katyusha is also really, really good at taking out infantry. Perhaps even better than the Stuka right now, as it stands in the meta. But, yeah, it's all a matter of how you use it, really. Just like the British were able to deal with the German armor, the German Panthers, for a long, long time. Actually, very nice concentrated fire will take out a Panther. Just like the British were able to deal with the Panthers, and you were able to deal with the Panthers for a long time using inferior units, such as the Su-76s, the Cromwell, and the Firefly, because of the fact that the Panthers were being used in reckless frontal assaults and hitting mines. It's not about the units all the time, it's also about how you use them. So the T-3485 is finally on the field. A little bit too late for that. It's going on a suicide run to take out the Stukas. It was able to take out the infrared half-track, but the infrared half-track is really easy to replace. It looks like he's more interested in getting another Panther on the field. No, it was Stanley that had the command Panther. So one Stuka will go down. So far, decently worth it for the T-3485 sacrifice. To take out, if he takes out the Vet-5 Stuka with 45 kills, okay, it doesn't, but he should have actually probably just marked vehicled it, because with the marked vehicle, the T-3485 usually one-shots the Stukas, and if it doesn't one-shot them, then the MG will actually deal enough damage to kill it. So if he had used the marked vehicle, he is loading a lot of munitions, though I won't count him out on it, because he has been using mines lots, and fairly effectively as well, though at this point he doesn't really have the engineers to go around and placing mines. Of course, they are idle right now, but yeah, mostly they were busy repairing the Su-76s, so yeah. He has also been using the marked vehicle, so really it's almost more of a thing of just this natural Soviet late-game munitions flow than any of his misdoings. He should have probably planted a few demo charges on the right side and the middle point. That would have definitely contributed to a lot of wipes. So that's definitely another advice that I would give him. So advice for the Germans, not float as much. Definitely Stanley has been doing the float game. Get a King Tiger, for fuck's sake, because you have the resources, so he finally gets a King Tiger 50 minutes in. For the other guy, as he finally decides to flank with his Panthers through the, extreme north, he should have been flanking more this entire time. Of course, why it worked for him to not flank and didn't work for the Allies is that the Panthers are a little bit more, as you have the BM, which is not very good, Panthers are a little bit more suited for frontal fighting than Cromwells and SUs and, Fireflies. So, in this case, the unit did help with, the mistakes of the player. And yeah, just in general, not blob as much from both of the Germans. Not blob as much, not float as much. Use your Lukes better. It was very, very much wasted. Good usage of the artillery, good usage of the infrared half-track especially. And yeah, well, more harassment would be welcome. He did start to harass later, which was welcome, but with too many units. If the Allies had capitalized on the fact that so many units were off remotely over here and done a good strike on the center, he would have been able to deal with the German tech structures again. And yeah, another thing is the Germans were able to rebuild their tech structures in pretty much the exact same spots as they had built them earlier. Earlier on, the Allies had done two very well-coordinated attacks on the Schweres and taken them out, and I do not know why they did not repeat this move at all. Very, very much a mystery. They did play well together, especially in the early game, but later on, their coordination fell off a little bit as the artillery kept, pounding them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the cast. Sorry for the phone, but what can you do? Hope you learned something, and I hope